Most people, if you put a mic in front of them, people go, oh my God, I can't stand listening to my voice.
People in the audience want to channel. Maybe they want to channel a group of consciousness, or maybe they just want to channel their highest self. But how do you view channeling?
Everyone can channel a voice of wisdom, connect with your soul or your higher self. And I always say, if you have a guide that's telling you to obey them, stop listening to that guide. Vibrational deselection, which is where you and another person in your life deselect each other energetically.
Hello and welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show with Lindsay and Krista. We're here for you.
We're here for you. We're here for you on this wild journey of human consciousness and existence. And if you've listened to the show, you might have listened to the episode we did a while back with Lee Harris. He actually channeled for Lindsay and I and for our community. It was one of my favorite moments of the podcast.
Yeah, it was so special.
I have a handful of favorite moments with the show, and getting a live channeling from the Z's in my old apartment, our old studio space with him, and hearing the messages. I was actually talking about one of the messages that the Z's gave me last night at dinner that I always remember is the Z's were explaining my soul as orbiting Earth a lot, and then was like, I came down for a very specific mission. And I very much feel that tension and frustration a lot of times of that my soul came here for something specific. And that felt so liberating and freeing for me. And he also talked about Almost 30 as like a school for conscious awakening and a school for consciousness, which I very much align with and agree to. And then our relationship, which is sweet.
I remember them saying something to the effect of like, Lindsay's someone who can just sit on a beach and be happy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, dude. They did. They're like, Lindsay's someone. And then they're like, Krista, on the other hand, is a fire.
You're the fire. You stoke the fire.
I am the fire and you stoke it or something. There was something about fire and I was doing something with fire.
Well, there was something, yeah.
And you were something like you were, yeah.
They were speaking to what you were doing, and then they're like, "But actually, you stoke the fire in people."
Oh yes, yes.
So you're not meant to start it. You're not meant to.
Be the fire.
You stoke it within people, which was interesting.
That's actually a really good thing for anyone that's a teacher or leader, facilitator, whatever. Even just I think women in general, because we often think that we have to be the energy for people. We have to give them happy. We have to like make them happy, make them feel it. It's like, no, you actually just like stoke and like evoke the thing. You are not the thing. You just evoke it in someone.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else they
That
said.
is so funny. I do remember Lindsay's happy on the beach. I remember I laughed so hard because it's so true. Oh my God. I wish that's a very specifically coded thing that only the Z's would understand, because it's just like, there's so many layers to that goodness.
Yeah. They talked about our friendship too, which is really beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to go back and listen to that. Actually, it's a good one
Me too.
To listen to again.
It was also a different time. I think I hadn't been public about my divorce. I wasn't open about it yet. And so he was like, you're going through a very transformative time, like that you don't even understand right now. And I was like, yeah. The public doesn't understand what I'm going through right now. Not yet.
But Lee is just a dear friend,
Amazing.
Such a special human being, galactic being. He's just, we meet a lot of people.
Yeah, true.
And doing what we do, and we meet incredible people all the time. But I don't know, Lee's always stood out to me as someone who I just really love his energy and enjoy being around him. And he's always been so kind and so generous to share with us what he sees within us individually and together and within Almost 30, just as Lee, not the Z's in particular. But yeah, I just love him.
He's one of those, he's very intuitive and very psychic. So we'll be talking, and I was telling him about something the other day, and I saw him like look over to the left, and I was like, he just got a message about what I just said, and I don't want to know what that message is. I was like, I don't even really need to know about what's going on. And in this episode, we talked about what's sort of happening right now from like a planetary consciousness level, about all the changes that we're experiencing. I know for myself and a lot of the women that I work with, and just women in my community, and I think for us as well, individually and together, it's like there's a feeling of there's a next thing, but you don't know what it is. It's like, what is this next phase? Where am I being called to?
Yeah.
What is this new identity, this transformation that I'm stepping forward into? And so many women of our community feel lost. They feel like in stepping out into the unknown, they know something's next, but they don't know what it is. And a lot of the people that I know intimately are very tapped in. They're very psychic. They're very connected. And they don't really have access to seeing where we're going collectively as a planet, which is very interesting. So we're almost at this like planetary like cliff that we're just
Yeah.
walking out
Yeah.
onto the edge of a new unknown. Hopefully heaven on earth.
I think so. I
Yeah.
do think so. But I also think that's part of the path or the process. Like, I think so much of what's kind of messed us up is like the need to control and the need to know. And so like the fact that we can't tap into like what's next, you know, no matter how intuitive you are, is actually a part, I think, of
Yeah.
what is important about this process is the not knowing and the trusting. But I know that you talked about so many things, but his new book, The Future Human, I've been reading like a few pages every single night. And I've found it really deeply fascinating, kind of the specifics they go into, whether we're talking about, you know, the specifics of social media, of the upgrades in our bodies, you know, like specific conditions that we see popping up all over the place, like over and over and over, what that generally means. And just, you know, how we can best support ourselves in ways that like you don't really think about for all us health and wellness girlies that are so obsessed with like doing the things and taking the things. It was kind of refreshing. It is refreshing to read. But I love Lee. What else did you talk about?
We also talked about healers and teachers, like how to work, like how healers and teachers can think about running their energy, how they can support themselves and serving the world on a broader scale. We also talked about music and the vibration of music, which is actually the third time we've talked about this in the past week, which is very interesting. Very interesting. In a few conversations, we were talking about music in the realm of health and wellness and how you can heal through vibration and sound, and how that's sort of coming more on the scene. And then with Lee, you know, he's a musician. So sort of stepping into that and also just seeing spirituality on the broader scale, where spirituality is inclusive of your passions and interests and your creativity and your artistry and all of that. Like how we kind of narrow it to thinking that spirituality is certain things, but that's actually another spiritual creative act. So it was a beautiful, very human conversation that I'm hopeful is inspiring and exciting. And especially if you're from the Lee Harris community, we're so excited to be connected with you. It's a pleasure. All the pleasure is ours, and we are glad to have you in our orbit.
Truly. You can see Lee on YouTube. He has an incredible YouTube channel. Just search Lee Harris. And you can find more information on his website, just about various programs, his other books, at leeharrisenergy.com.
Yeah, leeharrisenergy.com. Thank you so much, Lee. We appreciate you. Again, you can listen to the first episode with us, Channeled Message from the Z's. Just search Lee Harris Almost 30. And thank you for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. It means so much to just show a little bit of love to Almost 30. Thanks for sharing with your friends. It's such a beautiful community conversation and connection point with people. And then Morning Microdose is our second podcast. It's the clips. It's 5 to 10 minutes. It's ad free.
We love y'all. Have a blast listening to this conversation with Lee Harris, and we'll see you on the other side.
See you soon.
Yeah.
I was actually saying to John before that you have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you.
How do you think your energy and your frequency has impacted your voice? Because your voice is so peaceful, easy to listen to, integrated. Like there's a very specific frequency of your voice that is just, I feel like matches your soul frequency. Like, what do you feel about that?
Very good question. By the way, is this the interview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome. I like to ambush people.
Why not? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You know what's interesting? So I went through a journey with my voice. So I sang since I was little.
Yeah.
But then I went through a period when I started all the spiritual work and all the channeling. All of a sudden, my voice became something people wanted. And it was my speaking voice or my channeling voice. So I stepped away from music for years. And when I came back to music, I had to repair the wounds around my singing voice that my speaking voice no longer had. It was a very interesting process because one of the things I've noticed with most people, if you put a mic in front of them or you play them back their speaking voice, people go, oh my God, I can't stand listening to my voice. Well, I had to audio edit myself at the beginning. So there were definitely things I didn't like about my voice, but you get hammered into submission over time. And you also go, it's not about what I think, it's about what I'm able to do and put into the world. And if people are receiving it and using it, then mind your own business and get out the way. So I made peace with that side of my voice. And when I made an album called Golden World and I went back into the vocal booth, I was so mad at my lack of technical capacity as a singer versus the songs I had written for me as a singer. The composer in me was annoyed at the singer in me. And I went through this almighty battle in the vocal booth that lasted about a year. But I got over it. And then in recent years, I've gone for singing lessons more in depth. I knew we were going on tour. I knew that we were going to do piano and vocal on stage, which as a friend of mine, Entheo, who's an amazing musician, said to me after he saw the show, luckily he said, wow, you guys did amazing. And that was so brave. And I went, what do you mean brave? And he went, because you did it piano and vocal with no, and I hadn't even, I mean, we were scared about the tour. We were nervous to do it, but I thought, oh yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad I didn't realize how stupid we were being because we did it. We pushed ourselves, we practiced, so now I feel comfortable with my singing voice and I'm continuing to learn how to open parts of it, different frequencies. And it's interesting. It's all now kind of become a blend. So that has become an evolution for me to go, oh, I'm doing my best. I'm happy with what I'm doing. My composer, my inner composer that writes these melodies and lyrics for myself is no longer mad at the singer that he's got. And like anything in life, you also have to remember we're all doing our best. We're all here to just do what we're here to do. And the best thing you can do is do it and not reflect too much, not get too perfectionistic or
It's just it's such a metaphor, for your life and for who you are. And, I guess, or maybe that's my assumption and just seeing your own personal journey. Does it feel like that? Because, you have this singing voice, which is like a truth of you. And then you create this kind of persona, which is you, but it's like a part of you that just got potentially over-indexed for a while. And then you kind of saw yourself as this, but forgot this and then had to bring them back. Like how would you say like, this felt like a journey for you spiritually and as a being, the relationship with the voice?
It gave me a lot more compassion for the healer entrepreneurs I was working with who were going through stages of growth I was no longer going through. So, oh God, I just saw myself on camera. Oh God, I just listened to my voice. I was years away from that by the time I started, teaching and working with people who do what we do. But I would say, I think what was cool about it, what I didn't really put together in my head and why I think the journey back to my singing voice was different, I'd done all this channeling publicly for years. And then we started to fuse the music to be more spiritual and more overtly channeled. So my previous songs would have been more traditional singer-songwritery. Here's a diary song that I think could help someone else. But it was always coming through a more human lens. And I'd started to write these songs that felt like the lyrics were very channeled. And then Devore and I took it to a whole other level. We started writing songs in workshop rooms in response to what participants had done. So actually, I think the frequency of what I was transmitting as a singer and as a songwriter had changed. So in a way, my voice had to upgrade too.
Wow.
And I found I've worked with a few different vocal coaches over the years, but I found a brilliant Slovenian teacher that Devore found for me called Natasha Nartigal, and she's amazing. And so I worked with her for the last couple of years, usually at least weekly, sometimes twice weekly, and was able to give myself that time to develop it. And I think through that process now I just feel, okay, I'm comfortable. But it took time.
Yeah.
But it reminded me that for all of us, any skill we're developing or anything that we go, oh, I'd like to do this in the world, it doesn't usually happen overnight, and it doesn't usually happen without a certain level of practice, a certain level of refinement. And I think the trick is, can we be in a place where we don't have so much self-attack or self-judgment that we will stop ourselves doing it?
It's interesting. Some of the women that I work with from a coaching perspective will start like a new project or a new venture, or they'll start something. and they'll already be like, yeah, I don't know why I don't have this business plan, or I don't why. I'm like, we literally just started it. Like, it's so crazy how quick we'll be to judge ourselves
Yeah.
about not having the skill or the ability. And I'm like, I think about that with me as a speaker. I'm like, I want to be an amazing speaker. I want to be just like a world-renowned orator. And people that are world-renowned anything or really good at anything are practicing, they're studying,
It's true.
they're getting lessons. And the beauty of it is to make it look like you're not. That's making it look easy or making it look like you're not. But anyone that's in the position that you're in or that I'm in has practiced so much. I mean, I've gotten hours and hours, hundreds of hours of podcasting, hundreds of hours of speaking. And I think the more that we can really see the things that we're interested in as a skill that we're trying to learn or something that we're trying to get better at rather than just be good at immediately, it can make the process so much more fun and liberating. And I think it's so beautiful just you speaking on your voice because it's just so clear. And I think that's what makes it so magnetizing for people, is that it's like a safe vibrational frequency to land into.
I love that you bring this up, because I just did a course called Next Level Healer. And I knew I wanted to work with healers who wanted to go to the next level in what they were doing. So whether you're at the beginning and you're just starting, or whether you've been doing it for a while, but you can feel you're ready for a breakthrough. So the course is both a combination of me guiding people through their emotional and energetic process, but it also involves channeling. So I got the Z's to cover certain things. And one of the things I shared with everyone in the course is you have to practice in public. You have to practice in public. And I think the perfectionistic side of us looks at someone we admire in the field that we're in and goes, oh God, they're my hero and I would like to be like them. And it's like, well, you will never be like them. You will be your own version of what it is that you admire in them. And that's what we need. We don't need a copy of who's already out there, but you have to practice in public. And I shared with them my first energy update video, which I did in 2012. And I think it's still there on YouTube. And it's hilarious how scared I look.
Oh, I can't wait. Explain.
Well, so I had this impulse. I thought, what if I just do one of these on camera? I'd been writing them for a few years. And I thought, what if and this is how I started. I read out my written report and then I reflected on it. So I'm sat there on a laptop in 2012 in a rented apartment in Brighton, because I was about to move from the UK to the US. And I didn't have lighting, but I had tea light candles. So I lined up 6 tea light candles just above the keyboard. And I let the laptop film me. So you can actually see a bit of a flicker on my face. I mean, it's very Victorian.
I was going to say.
And yes, thank you.
Kind of a vibe.
Gas lamp.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you use what you've got. And what's interesting about it is you can see that I'm stiff. You can see that I'm scared compared to who I am now. I also could see how sad I was as a person.
Oh.
That was shocking. I was like, wow, you were so much sadder. You were so much more. And I remember it was a tough couple of years, that period of time for me. So I could really see that. But here's the most important thing. Almost 14,000 people watched that video. My perceived limitations, or whatever lack of evolution I had on camera, the work and the message was all anyone ever wants. Like, I always remind friends, because I've reminded myself this, they're like, oh God, I've got to go and be on camera today and I don't look my best. And I went, welcome to being on camera.
Yeah.
Like, it will get you over any opinion you have. I said, the other problem with being on camera in a studio is you get great lighting and great angles. And then you see yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my God. And you go, yeah, that's because with good lighting, good angles, I look quite nice, like all of us do. So it actually does quite a healthy number on your self-perception. And I always say they are not there for how you look. If they were there for how you look, you would be an underwear model. And that's not apparently your job. They are there for something that you are doing. And I think we all have that tendency, because we live in particularly now, a very looks-based society. And it's all very much what filter did people put on. And I think we're breaking some of that down, but it's quite natural for people to feel nervous about how they look. But it doesn't really matter how we look, how confident we are. If our information is good, then just do it. There's a woman who, when my dad had dementia, she was making YouTube videos in her house, She did not have lighting. She did not have a microphone. This was 4 or 5 years ago when I knew about all that stuff. I did not care. I loved this woman because she was making really helpful videos about how do you care for and interact with someone who has dementia. And that, again, was the power for me of, yeah, great, have lighting, have a nice camera. It's all good. But at the end of the day, that's not what people are tuning in for. People are tuning in for who you are and what you have to say. And if you can get clear about that, then the refinement will come with practice and time. And that's just details.
My dad has Alzheimer's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
honey.
I should watch that because I've been curious about how to. I know enough in how to engage, but it is an interesting world to kind of play in with that.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me, I worked with an autistic boy when it's about 20 years ago now, and I was trained in something called the sunrise method to work with him by the family. And I only worked with him once a week, but we were told to enter his world.
Oh, I love
Not
that.
to correct him, not to try and get him to behave differently, but we were trained to mirror and engage and work with him. And it's the same, they say, with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's like you don't correct.
Yeah.
You don't tell them we've already had this discussion, or which I witnessed, one family member really struggle with, understandably. It's hard because they've gone to a different dimension a lot of the time. And the Z's say when someone is full blown with full effects of Alzheimer's or dementia, the Z's say, they might be 80% in that dimension and 20% who you remember. And what you have to, it's hard because emotionally you're dealing with the grief and the change, but you have to be ready to play tennis with them wherever they are. And you have to just keep adapting. I'll can't remember her name right now, but I'll remember it and give it to you after the show.
When we think, a lot of our audience are actually teachers, healers, they're people that maybe want to step into that. When you talked about next level healer, what do you think is stopping people from becoming their next level healer version?
Oh, do you know what the most moving thing about doing it was? So I was on tour in Europe in January, and I knew I could teach one new thing this year apart from my regular things. And I didn't know what to do. And I held space for, okay, show me, tell me. And it dropped in because I was on a flight and I was reflecting on all these healers that I was meeting at the events and hearing about. And so what struck me about the course, we had 2,350 people enroll and go through the process with us so far. We got to see from all these different countries around the world the most beautiful hearted, lovely people doing all kinds of different things, like, acupuncture, a registered nurse who was now becoming a Reiki healer. Like, it was everything. It was every kind of transformational element that they could be bringing to the world. They were all so nice and so heartfelt. And all of them had the question, am I good enough to do this? And it was so clear because I asked them to submit videos and I worked one-on-one on screen with them every week as well, different members from the group. And you were like, oh my God, you're so qualified.
I know.
You're so qualified because your heart's in the right place and your intention is true. But like all of us, we have this thing of, am I good enough? Am I going to do it right? Am I going to do it wrong? But here is what I uncovered that really blew my mind. About 3 days before the course, I thought to myself, I've worked with healers and practitioners now I've been doing workshops for 19 years. I've been putting my work out for 21. And I've always seen this kind of witch wound. And it's not always a witch, but there's this wound of, I think I was persecuted in another life because I was a healer. So I thought, everyone keeps going on about ChatGPT and AI now. I'll go and have a look. So I literally typed in, why have healers been so persecuted in society? And the answers that came back were extensive. And I put it in a workbook and told told the group, I said, hey, I just Googled this and look what came up. And it walks you through the control of religion and medicine towards and against healers, the inbuilt persecution that was created not only from things like the witch trials, which we know was a great way to get rid of influential women, influential, powerful women in their communities. We know that so many people got murdered for reasons not to do with magic or that they could heal someone in the village. But when you look at the roots of it, it all happened around the same time that the control of medicine and the control of religion came in. So it's a very real persecution wound. It's not ours to own, but it is that we have swallowed it. And everyone in society swallows it. And I mean, you see it flying around. You see it in unexamined skepticism. You know, people often say, oh, well, my friend's really skeptical about healing. And I'm like, yeah, that means they haven't had an experience and they have been trained to be skeptical. So if they had an experience or if they investigated, they might feel differently. Or if a family member of theirs was really sick and either that family member passes over and then speaks to them, that wakes them up, or they see a healer who helped them, that wakes them up. So I think we're all dealing with this core wound.
Yeah.
And that was why I called the course Next Level Healer, because I knew that word healer was going to be controversial. And people tend to say about healers, oh, well, so you're a healer, you think you're special. No, a healer is just somebody who works on behalf of the dimension of healing on the planet and holds space for a transformation to take place for somebody. So we're all inadvertently healing each other as humans. You know, I might step on your wound, you might step on my wound. It's not like we were consciously trying to heal each other, but that's a healing process. But a healer is something else. A healer, whether they're doing it in their personal life or whether they're doing it in their professional life, they're someone who is saying, I'm going to hold space for your transformation. I have either studied or experienced to do this. I'm passionate about it. I not only believe in it, I know stuff about it, and I can be in the fire with you, and that's who healers are. So part of what I did as we were leading towards the course and talked to my team about this, I said, we need to define what a healer is, because a lot of people are going to go, well, I'm not a healer. And I would argue we're all healers. And then those people who hold space for the transformation of others, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, an acupuncturist, a Reiki practitioner, an astrologer, whatever you are holding space for someone to either have a transformation or open to a transformation. And that is what a healer is.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I've had that same experience with some of the women in my audience, because a lot of them are empaths, people that are highly sensitive. And so some of the most qualified people I've met to do something usually have the biggest fear. Usually have the biggest limiting beliefs or all of the things. And I think one of my core little woundings, or the things that I view the world through, is the belief that like narcissists always win or narcissists always succeed, because they don't have that sort of like thought about the other, or like that was always what I've thought. But it is the people that are so heart-centered in the right place that are so needed, as far as being a healer. So what would you say for someone that feels like they have some sort of healing ability or desire to help someone transform, but they have the limiting beliefs about themselves? Like, what would you tell them or share with them to help them get through that?
Part of your healing journey is going to be overcoming those beliefs. I was a student of self-growth and metaphysics from the age of 16. I'm still a student of those things because I'm active in my own journey and paying attention and learning all the time. But for me, doing this for work became a huge self-growth journey for me. And people would often say, oh, I wish I had your confidence. And I will say, my confidence was earned on the job. And there are many things, even today, that I'm like, oh, God, can I do that? Oh, even Next Level Healer, I knew I had to do it. But before you go into anything that you are creating something new, you should feel some butterflies or there should be some energy moving through you because you're about to birth something. So I would say none of your limiting beliefs are a problem. What will be the remedy to your limiting beliefs is your willingness to keep walking, even knowing some of that stuff's going to come up, but that you have the ability to handle it. And if you don't have the ability to handle it, you get yourself a coach, you get yourself a mentor, you read books, you watch videos, you educate yourself with what you need to learn in order to keep moving forward.
Beautiful. And in it, you talked a little bit about channeling in the program. And I love what you write about channeling. I was looking at like your Instagram recently about channeling is more so allowing than like anything else. Can you talk about that? Because I feel like there's people in the audience too that are interested in channeling. They want to channel. Maybe they want to channel, a group of consciousness, or maybe they just want to channel their highest self. But how do you view channeling? And what would you say to someone that wants to start channeling?
Yeah, channeling has been a really interesting journey for me, because when I first was taken to see a channeler age 20, I was skeptical. I just thought, oh, he's a really good intuitive. Why does he close his eyes and put on a funny voice? I would have accepted him just talking to me normally.
Totally. You're like, you don't have to do
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Because I thought, oh, he's clearly very intuitive, because everything that came out of his mouth was quite mind-blowing. And then, of course, it happened to me. And I wasn't looking. If anything, that was quite inconvenient. If you'd have let me be maybe a self-growth teacher, I wouldn't have felt ashamed. But I had shame about bringing the channeling to the public. I didn't for myself, because I'd met my guides and I was like, my God, this is so useful and this is changing my life. But I'd better keep this private, because there is a stigma associated. People think you're lying. People think you're making it up. There's all kinds of, there are like classic unimaginative criticisms out there that just aren't very interesting. So I think firstly, there's channeling publicly and there's channeling for yourself. So let's just stay on channeling for yourself. Everyone can channel a voice of wisdom. So when I get my rooms or workshops of people to channel for themselves, I say, connect with your soul or your higher self. Don't worry about whether you're speaking to an Andromedan group from star system 36, or, some people have like a real fixation on that, and that gets in their way.
Yeah.
I'm like, that will either happen to you or it won't. Don't go hunting it. And I have to ask you, why do you think that constellation of stars is so important?
Yes.
Like, I always say, if I died and they said to me, oh, by the way, you thought the Z's were your guides. It was actually the voice of God, and she's been talking to you your whole life. I go, okay.
Yeah.
Great. I don't care. I don't really care about identity. I care about frequency and the frequency that they have brought to my life and that I have then been able to share. It's invaluable to me and to the people who it works for. So everyone can channel their higher self or their soul. It's a little like sitting and doing journaling in the morning. Sit down and write, soul, what do you want to tell me today? Or higher self, what do you want to tell me today? Or if you want to write Jesus, or, if there is a certain focal point you want to have, go ahead. But everyone can access it. It's the same wise voice that we use for our friend when our friend is distressed. It might not be the voice we always apply to ourselves, but that's the breakthrough of channeling. You develop a voice inside you that goes against any other voices. So in my case, I was dealing with a lot of self-attack in my early 20s still, a lot of self-judgment in my head. And suddenly there was this voice from the left that was like, I don't know, if my self-attack voices was this massive house on fire, in came the Z's like with a huge water hose and just put it out. Yeah. And not only put it out, they kind of brought calm and opening to me. And I was like, wow, I've never been able to quiet that voice myself.
Like, that's what it took.
Yeah. So the reason I share that piece is when you start channeling for yourself, it does something to you. It changes you. It's this relationship of love and support toward yourself that you access through yourself that is quite fundamentally different to how a lot of us operate. So it takes time with channeling. You need to give it months or a year or two to kind of settle in and to get used to it and to give yourself breaks between it if it feels very activating.
Miriam Hasna, who you know as well. I love her work, and she's a teacher
beautiful.
that I study too. And she's someone that's so sensitive. And I remember her teaching on channeling. She was talking about how when she teaches channeling, what she first teaches people to do is how to stop channeling. Because a lot of times people are channeling unconsciously other energies, other people's, like other people's ideas, perceptions, like other people. And so a lot of the work is like figuring out how to just reset and reorient yourself in your energy so that you can feel what it feels like to almost be void or be in your own energy first. So you can tell the difference between other energies and frequencies, which I really love. Yeah.
I love that. And the other thing I think that people often need to be encouraged when they're channeling is not to obey their channel.
Say more about that.
People are very much looking for an answer outside themselves that they believe is more correct than the answer inside themselves. I know when I started spirituality and self-growth as a young'un, there was less out there, but also I think you're very susceptible when you first go into spirituality and self-growth of thinking, oh, well, I know nothing and they know everything. And to some degree at the beginning, there is a learning curve and you are learning. The risk is that you give all the power to the teacher, the guru, or the person that's at the front of the room. And if you can do that in a healthy way, like, we're all grateful for teachers in our life or friends or family members. Sure, have gratitude. That's lovely. But don't make them your spiritual power center, because then you're still not connecting to your own spirituality. I think we've been, certainly a lot of religious training makes it blasphemous for you to not access God or spirit through the priest or whatever the denomination is. So we have that in the room. But I think many people need to, like, I do not do what the Z's tell me to do.
Yep.
And more importantly, they don't tell me to do things.
Yeah.
They occasionally give me warnings in my life. Like they'll say, you're leaving Colorado, moving to California, get ready. I really didn't like that warning, but they were right. And 6 months later, I was ready to leave Colorado and I saw why. But they don't tell me what to do. And I always say, if you have a guide that's telling you to obey them, stop listening to that guide. It's not about that. They're giving a spiritual perspective to you. And it's for you to discern what you want to do and to help empower the more spiritual you on the planet, not that you're a human puppet for some spiritual guide.
That is such a good one. Yeah, and Law of One, which is one of my favorite channel texts, it speaks a lot about the voice. And if it dishonors your free will, then it's not the voice of something that's positive polarity. Any entity or being is going to respect and honor your free will. And that's what I've always known when it's that voice. I had a warning a few weeks ago. I was in a relationship with someone, and in my dream, I went to bed. I had just spent time with them, and my guide just sat me down at a table and just sat at the table. And they were like, "You'll never know this man. He's hiding something. And this is as far as you're going to go." And it was just, I woke up in the morning and they were sitting by my bed. They're like, "We have nothing more to say. Like we said what we needed to say." But it wasn't ever, "You need to break up. You need to do this thing." It's like, "We just need you to know this information that you know in your subconscious, but you're not doing something about." And in a lot of the work that I do with my clients, sometimes we'll be in like a circle with their team, like their guides, their angels, their light beings, fairies, whoever's there. And it is one of the things that I'll often bring in is like remembering that you're equal to, because I think we'll kind of sit and counsel and people will assume that these are just beings that they have to report to or they are like better than them. But it's like, I think that was a huge part of my spiritual mastery path, was coming into relationship with all the beings and entities and guides as an equal that has equal power, rather than saying and believing that everything that was in the unseen had power over me, because that's like not true, especially in this dimension. They just don't.
Beautiful. And the Z's say, we're here to embody as much consciousness as possible. And that's what we're here to do. So our job is to both personally elevate ourselves and go through our own healing. But as we heal anything that we're carrying from the wounds of humanity, we also change the frequency of it for the planet. So our job is to become as, whether you call it enlightened or spiritual or awakened as possible. But our humanity is not the problem that I think people often say it is. It is who we are. And we were born onto this planet that is what it is. And so, yes, you can seek the light, you can seek more spirit, but I think sometimes the pain of being on earth or the disconnection that you can feel in yourself, you think the remedy is, oh, there's something else somewhere else that I need to get to. But actually, it's all supposed to integrate. Oh, look at this beauty.
I know you like kitties.
Oh, I love kitties.
That's right. You got kitties at your house. So I said the kitties can come. What you just shared is so incredibly profound that there's the part of the spiritual experience where we think being the humanity is the problem, and it's not. And that is so incredible, especially for the seeker. So if part of our job here, from the Z's, is to expand our consciousness and to be on our own spiritual path, how do we do that in relationship to other people? How much is about us discovering and deepening our spirituality? And how do we be in relationship with the collective in a way that also is in service to them?
Well, if you're living your path, the Z's would say you're in service to the collective. And I think that can be very challenging for a lot of people, especially overachievers when it comes to healers or spiritual people, that in a way, spirituality or being a healer can become the next competition with the self or with others, And so that has to kind of die down. And when you'll know you're on your path, because you won't be sitting at home wondering why nothing's happening most of the time.
That's a good one.
You might have moments where you go, oh, am I doing the right thing? But they should be moments. They should not be happening half a day, 7 days a week. That's when you know you're either moving from one version of your path to another and you haven't quite clicked the new in yet, or something's a bit stuck or a bit dead.
You were reading my mind.
Right.
Yeah, I knew you were reading me.
Right,
You're like, actually, I'm going to change this answer because I know what she's in right now. You're like, well, you're actually in between a process. You're not.
I wasn't actually, but you busted yourself.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Thank you for that kindness.
No, and by the way, the between is so important to talk about because I think at the moment we're in this very destabilizing time in the world. While the outside world is destabilizing, your focus is going to go there. Many of us will be working to help in different areas that we feel compelled to help. But even if you are avoiding the outside world, the energetic ricochet is going to find you. And so a lot of us are being shunted fast into other relationships, other timelines. Back to your point, you being aligned with as many people as you can be in your life is going to be really important. You might need to have 10 highly awake, aware, spiritual self-growth people in your immediate circle. You might happily have 10 others who you never talk about those topics. That's not really, but they're in their heart. They're in their joy, which is really what spirituality is about. Did it get you back to a deeper connection with yourself? But the Z's have talked a lot lately about vibrational deselection.
This is my first thing. I'm so glad we're talking about this.
Vibrational deselection, which is where you and another person in your life deselect each other energetically. And it can play out one of three ways. Either you both kind of go, oh, well, we're no longer alive, okay, and you lovingly say goodbye. Or one or the other of you realizes or accepts it before the other one. Now, a friend of mine might decide I'm no longer resonant for her. And I might go into some pain about that. She might be right. It might take me 2 months to get there. But I might go into some abandonment stuff because maybe part of my relationship with her was there was some kind of familial energy and I'm replaying, she was the repair of some familial abandonment. So the healing is always happening. But in vibrational deselection, what the Z's say is people will be removed from your chessboard. And you will sometimes move people off your chessboard. And we go through all kinds of stuff in our head of like, oh, it's not fair. My friend really needs me. That's why I'm going to stay with this friend. No, don't stay with a friend because they need you, unless it's an emergency and they're a long-term friend and you're the only person who can be there for them or one of a few key people who can be there for them. We often try and talk ourselves out of being very honest about what we're experiencing with someone. And so a lot of us, as we're clearing up our patterns, which is happening at speed for lots of us right now, we're having people moved. And, I'll speak personally for a second. In the last 2 years, 4 key players in my life, were moved. I initiated the move with a couple of them, and another person initiated the move on me. And it was such a shock when all of it was happening, even when I was the one knowing it had to happen. And a really dear friend of mine, who's also a bit of a mentor, he's in his early 70s, he said to me, well, Lee, he said, so much is changing in your life. And we know that at some point you're going to have a new partner come into your life. And when he arrives, you're going to need time and you don't know who he's bringing with you. And what's interesting is the Z's have always said to me that when you let go of a friendship and you miss it, you will get the upgrade 6, 12, 18, 24 months later. Pay attention because the upgrade will come back. You might be sitting there going, oh my God, I really miss my friend that I laughed with. And it was the only person I ever laughed like that with. And the Z's, if I was going pity party on that, the Z's would say to me, well, you're capable of laughing, so go and find someone else to laugh with. Like they wouldn't,
I love it.
They wouldn't let me sit too long in, oh my God, this must be wrong. They'd be like, no, it isn't wrong. Otherwise it wouldn't have happened. So you take the part of you that now you're recovered, you take that part of you that loves laughing and you're going to go and find someone else you can laugh with who is also going to have a few other things that will align with you that the other friend didn't, that was starting to get heavy. So we get the upgrades of people and boy, has that happened to me. Even just in the last 6 months, I've kind of gone, wow, this new friend I have, I would never have had space for them. But I had to go through the grieving and the loss and the process of the loss.
Yeah.
And in the process of the loss, it's a part of your identity that also gets to die off and reform, because we create identities in ourselves through the relationship we have with others. So as we're changing, relationships that you're in transform, and some of them go away, get moved away, or you might go, oh, wow, I'm no longer clicking with this person and I'm shocked. It's sad on an attachment level, but if I understand that life is a long journey and I can honor and love them as they go their way and I go my way, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. I think I had 3 in the past, 3 of my key players. 3. Yeah, it was like trifecta. I was like, whoa, like this, it was, oh no, yeah, it was 3. And it was, or maybe it was 4, but it was almost like the legs of a table. You know, it was like the 3, like everyone just like kicked out. And I was like, whoa. And I think it's a really great point where each of these people was mirroring back an identity that I was no longer in, you know, pedestaling people, giving my power away, self-erasure, codependency. And so when I was getting out of those patterns in my life, it just kind of left these relationships, and I just wasn't a fit for the relationships at all. And these were people I deeply loved, like so much. And now to be like, who is that? You know, and now like with love and reverence to be like, oh, they absolutely cannot work in my new life, in my new space or anything like that. What do you see happening? And I guess, what do the Z's see happening too with romantic relationships? Because I've been in my process, you've been in your process, and not to talk about personal stuff, but I think collectively there's been so much happening with romantic relationships, like so many endings, so many beginnings, so many fast things going on. Like, what are they seeing?
Well, it's funny. I'll share personally because it's funny you bring this up. So after my marriage ended, I was single for about 6-7 months, and a friend of mine who was visiting me asked me, he said, "Oh, what do you want in a relationship?" And I said, he said, "Do you want a partner?" And I went, "No." I said, "I'm not ready. I need time." I said, "However, it would be lovely to have a companion, a lover, someone to experience and share with." So he was on an app. And he said, "Oh, there's this guy I'm talking to, and I think he could be perfect for you." And this guy was advertising himself as 58. And we ended up meeting, and it turned out he was 69. And I had a relationship with him for about a year. And if you'd have told me at 48, I would have been divorced and having a relationship with a 70-year-old, I just wouldn't have believed it, because it doesn't make sense in the mind. Amazing guy, like vibrant as anything. And I was just beginning to go through some stuff. I think this can happen when you break up with someone, because I've all my divorced or separated friends talk about it too. Especially when you're like late 40s, you're like, oh, this is not my 20s or 30s anymore, when you're so. And I was just beginning to go through a little bit of stuff about, wow, I'm going to be 50 soon. And then I, had this beautiful relationship with Jim, and he redefined what energy at 70 looks like, what health and fitness. I mean, it was incredible. I knew we wouldn't be each other's partners, so it was hard to let go after a year, because we couldn't carry on, because we just couldn't go to the next phase. But that blew my mind, and that's never anything I would have anticipated for myself. But it was beautiful, and it changed something about. I've always liked much older people. I just didn't know, I would get to experience something like that. So that was cool for me. But
It's almost like the paradigms are different. Like, I feel like I felt like that too. I had a type. I was like, this is my type. And then since I've been dating, I'm like, never thought that one, never saw that one, didn't.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think it's more of a frequency thing too. At some point, you're just like, our souls are going to do what they're going to do. And my human is just here to see what's up. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, you guys have a bigger plan that I'm just witness to, because I would have never thought this or predicted this at all.
Yeah. And I think soul connection is everything. So my brother was just with me, and he's also single. He's looking for a girlfriend at the right moment. And he was saying, "What's your type?" And I went through all the people and I was like, wow, I've got no type. Like, I was almost embarrassed. I was like, oh, should I have a type?
Honestly.
Like, no type whatsoever. It's all about the connection, the soul. It's like, so, but back to the kind of broader question and what the Z's have said about relationships. They said about 6 years ago, we were doing a soul magic retreat, and there was a channel where they said if you all lived more tribally and communally, you would care a lot less about your intimate partner. Now, to me, that doesn't mean that, and even they
It means
said this.
polyamorous. I'm just kidding.
Well, it could, and a lot of people are exploring that, right? Although I still don't see many people mastering that without all kinds of emotional drama that I wouldn't want to be in. I'm like, no, that the world is enough for me. I don't need to get into all that, even though I admire and respect the people who do. And I actually have a very good friend who it seems to ish work for her. So anyway, the Z's talked about it's very important to have a focal relationship, and it can, a lot of learning and release and healing can come through it. But I think we've all been sold this romance dream, and also this, oh, it's terrible if a relationship ends. And I'm like, is it? No, it's actually that someone had an experience. I mean, I understand if there's kids involved and there's other people who get hurt, but I think the spiritual way of looking at relationships is you come together with a person for, as they say, is it a season or a lifetime or a, and the Z's once said some of your most powerful loves in your love line can be someone you spend 3 days with. Not necessarily always the person you spend 50 years with. And we tend to put all the value on that. So I think we're all trying to find ourselves. I think the risk for those of us who, I know for me, I spent a lot of time modifying to other partners, which I think a lot of us do. So I'd go, oh, I really like this person. Oh, I'd like to be with them. Oh, okay, I can just adjust here. I can just, so, that's still a journey that's ongoing for me, like kind of looking at when am I with a person where I don't have to modify. And I think we all do it in relationship, but there's something about, so I personally
struggle with that too. What's interesting is I was thinking about, I was talking to another friend that's super powerful, very spiritual, successful. And they were just talking about a relationship that's ending and how they were just modifying the whole time. And I'm like, it's so funny because powerful, spiritual, like the love relationship still just kind of gets us all. Like
100%. And it's key learning area.
Key learning.
It's a key, like for me, it's a key learning area.
Yeah.
And I've loved many people. I've lived with about 5 different partners over the years. Yeah. I'd like to take that down a notch. And if in the next 20, 30 years, I'm not,
And as you get older, I have a partner now or a boyfriend now, and he was over and I'm like, I want you to live on the first floor. I'm like, I was like, we could have our separate floors. Like,
totally.
You just want your space. You want your.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I've been single now for 10 months.
How does it feel?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's the best.
It took a period to get there. It took a period of like, oh, I really like this. Mm-hmm. But to your original question, the Z's, they have talked about romantic relationships becoming more intrinsic to friendships. And I see that in the culture. I see that we're beginning to acknowledge friendship love and all kinds of love. At the end of the day, someone who's looking out for you, looking out with you, and that you are looking out for, that's an incredible relationship. So I think there's a pain in our culture around romantic relationship. And I feel for the people who go, I don't want to be in a partnership. And that's the question they're always asked.
I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I actually agree with that sentiment because we talk about friendships a lot. At Almost 30, we wrote a lot about it in the book. I think that has supported me so much in sort of raising my friendship importance and love and just contextually in my mind, seeing them as important as my romantic relationships has taken so much of the pressure off of my romantic relationships and then helped me feel so much more fulfilled in my life and so much more at peace. Because I remember, I think we were sold that I was the Disney kid generation. We were the Disney princess generation that was sold that your person has to be your everything. And this is what you live for, is finding this person to be your best friend, to be your lover, to be all these things. And then when you get older, you sort of realize how amazing and magical it is to have different deep relationships that bring out different textures of you and different aspects of you. And so I'm so relieved to hear that. And I think it's such a relief for so many people. And I'm curious of how all the energy ends up landing, with that, because I do feel like it is like the thing with polyamory where I'm like, oh, on the surface, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
you're like, love is love. Like, and
Oh,
then you're
yeah.
kind of like, wait, what?
For me with polyamory, for me personally, why I'm not very interested in it is because of the wounds.
Exactly.
And because I know how emotions go, I know how attachment goes, I know how activating we each are to each other. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want that much therapy in my week. Thank you.
Totally. I don't
I've done
want to
a lot,
process that much.
However, I also see that for some people, it is their spiritual path.
Totally.
And it is their learning. So I'm like, good for you. Go for it. The Z's did say we would see more polyamory, but they did say that monogamy in that form is not going to go away.
Oh, interesting.
They don't see that going away in a hurry, and they see that being a path that many will choose. If you think about it, it's like introvert and extrovert. The extrovert wants to meet everybody at the party.
Yeah.
The introvert wants to meet one or two or three and be.
Yeah.
So, we're all slightly different types too. I don't think there is a better way. I think it's personal choice. And I think this is where spirituality gets into trouble. And there are spiritual teachers out there, I've noticed, who are speaking about their own spiritual journey like it's spiritual truth. And I'm like, no, that's not a spiritual fact. That's a truth for you and people who are wired your way, which is why, to the best of my ability, I always try and stay completely open. There isn't a spiritual truth. There are many spiritual truths that we're all experiencing and living through, and we have to honor room for all. It's like you can't say, this is how you overcome anxiety. If someone said, how would you help people overcome anxiety? I'm like, bring me the person.
Yeah.
Let me ask them 5 questions. Let me feel their energy. Let me see where they're at. Let me see what they're capable of. Then I'll start working with them. But it's going to be one of 15 different things depending on who they are, where they are, and what they need.
That's why I've loved coaching one-on-one, so in my career, it was like go really big with almost 30, serving a lot of people, and then membership and all of that. And now I'm like, I love one-on-one because I can actually help you. Like I can get to what is your anxiety? I can actually get to that point where sometimes I felt like that with broader audiences. It's like, I know there's a part of me that knows that this is not going to apply to everyone. And then it's kind of like, kind of maybe self-censors or stops myself. So being able to like read someone's energy and really be in with someone has been such a pleasure.
Yeah. And the self-censorship is smart because I think you have to be a little careful to adjust your focus when you're out there speaking to millions of people on a video versus working with a group of 300. It's two completely different animals.
Yeah.
Two completely different animals.
How do you, that's a great question for people that want to do YouTube or want to be teachers in public. How do you sort of change your lens about that? Because you're talking to a really large global audience on your YouTube. Like, what's your thought process around that?
Yeah, I guess I was trained through one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So that, for me, even going back into Soul Magic, which we just ran in La Jolla last week, it's very comfortable for me to work one-on-one with a person because I did 4,500 sessions over a 15-year period.
Wow.
So I'm very used to the one-on-one, and what I learned to do was transpose it to a group. So I have noticed some people are brilliant group speakers and they're not necessarily as adept one-on-one, and they don't need to be. Not everyone needs to do both. But I would say, I think if you're going out there, I think the most important, blind spot that I see happening a lot is people forgetting how everyone is different.
Yeah.
So, you'll see people do a video and they'll say, well, trauma is because of this and this and this. And I'm watching, if I watch the video, I'm like, it could also be 8 more things depending on. So you've got, I think your biggest responsibility is not to try and be an authority expert on everyone. Even if you're reaching multi-millions of people, you're still not an authority expert on everyone. So I think we have a responsibility to help people remember that they need to learn about themselves and who they are and apply things based on who they are, rather than, here is my spiritual rule and you apply it and you'll be fine. I'll tell you what one of my bugbears is. And there are major teachers out there that I respect and I think they're doing really good work, but I'll see people do videos where they'll go, when your alarm clock goes off, wake up immediately. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I am going to hit snooze because for me, that 20 to 30 minutes when I wake up in the morning, I've been very productive for 21 years and I have endurance.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me when I see these videos telling people what to do and I'm like, Now, for someone who's already feeling anxious and like they're underperforming, that's just going to put them into anxiety. I'm just not a fan of one rule fits all. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. It's not true.
Yeah.
Even my energy updates, I try and say at the beginning, these videos are for whoever resonates with me. There will be people out there who go, oh God, I can't stand him. And I've seen some of it. It doesn't bother me. I don't take it personally. There will be people out there I resonate with. There will be people out there I don't. And the people who resonate with me, they won't believe or resonate with everything I say. And that's not my job. My job is to just keep doing what I do and know that people will pick things off. And I do it because if the things they're picking off work for them, great. When I see those kinds of videos, I'm like, old paradigm.
Yeah. Because I know I'm always like energetics, because I'm like the energetics of that. What if you literally hate yourself and you want more reasons to hate yourself? So you're going to have the alarm set. So you hit snooze. So you continue to hate yourself. Like, yeah, nothing is
And
ever
sadly,
just like that.
You've nailed it.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of people who want to be told what to do still will go for those videos. It's why some of them are very popular. Like someone once said to me, oh, I want to be one of the most mainstream spiritual teachers there is. And I said, great. I said, so you're comfortable working at the middle level? And then, what do you mean? And I said, well, to be in the mainstream as a spiritual teacher right now means you're really hitting the middle. I'm not saying you're not brilliant at what you do. And I'm not saying that isn't its own kind of skill. The reason I threw this at them, we were in a one-on-one session, I knew they had this real, I want to do the highest possible work. And so I could see the conflict. There was a conflict between I want to be really popular and I want to do some of the most cutting edge work. And I was like, well, the cutting edge work isn't necessarily happening in the mainstream. It usually births 10, 15, 20 years before with a small number. And then it hits the mainstream and there will be an ambassador whose job it is to go out and be the mainstream figure. And they're built for it. It's what they're here for. So be careful how competitive you get with your ideas about success and popularity versus quality. They're different animals and they shouldn't be put in the same category. So yeah, that's just something I've always observed.
A lot of times if people are kind of creating the lane, they feel lonely and they feel like they're doing something wrong, but it's like just creating the lane and you're early on in the process. And then it catches in later. A lot of the teachers that have been around for a long time have been talking about the same stuff for...
Have you seen that video on YouTube? Everything is a remix.
Oh, I would love.
Oh my God. Everything is a remix on YouTube.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay.
It just shows you, we're all just evolving and refining what went before. That's what we get to do while we're alive. And then we die. And then someone else picks up the baton and carries on.
Yeah. So your energy updates this year have been just so helpful. I think so many people, and we're going through such a time of transformation, especially with AI and ChatGPT stuff. We can answer related to that, but I would just like to kind of expand upon that a little bit, because so many women in our audience are going through such transformational times internally. So much is happening in their life. So what are some of the themes of the channelings from this year that you found to be really relevant?
Well, the one thing that they've been talking about, which is obvious and it's evident, is they said we're going through a people revolution. So basically, you're going to see people saying no to things that are being put upon them, or oppression that is being put upon them, that will rise as higher consciousness rises, because it's trying to control things. It's trying to take things backwards. That people revolution will both happen in people's reactions to what's going on in the outer world, but it's also they're going through inner revolutions. So people are going through like revolutions with their own personality, their own career path, their own relationships. So personal revolution is a big one. They have also talked about the importance of, and I've talked about this for years, the importance of taking care of yourself in these times. If your nervous system is highly activated and you are sitting online typing a load of stuff, just stop. Just step back. You can, yes, there are things on the planet that are very alarming and heartbreaking and emergencies and all of that, but you have to know when you are capable of being a frontline responder and when someone else is going to be the frontline responder, because you're recovering from the last three things. And that is its own form of energy mastery that we need to get very clear about. And then the other thing that they've talked about is, on a positive side, because people are becoming more free of the shackles of the old world in themselves, in the systems, people are beginning to have very powerful, energetic, emotional, intuitive experiences that they didn't previously have, and also finding more aligned people. So those are three of the things that hit me immediately. But one of the biggest things I'm most aware of as we go through this is the undeniable effect of everything going on in the world and how it relays into you as a human being and a person. Even if you're someone who says, I avoid watching the news, you are still going to be feeling it. It's going to be hitting you because it's worldwide. And what we're dealing with is a lot of panic and fear. And what we're looking for is a rise of love. And we see that in every emergency. I mean, we see it here when we have major fires. People rally round, people look out for each other. What's shown on the news tends to be sensationalist, dramatic, fear driving. What those of us who've ever been in an emergency area can attest to is all of the transformational acts between humans. So one of the things that came up as a theme for this year is what will we allow as a people? So what will we allow as a people? That's a global conversation right now, but also what will you allow as a person and what will you change?
Is there a perception, so within the collective and sort of what's been happening in the past couple years, in some camps, there's the perception that things are only getting better, that people are only getting more healthy, and people are living longer, that like people are safer. But then there's some that are like, it's all getting worse. Do you have a perception about like if it's getting better or worse, or how do you see these times?
I think it really depends on who you are and what you're looking at. There are people right now who may be watching this who are sitting in their rooms so depressed. And they're deflated about life, the world, and their own life. Usually those things go in tandem. You're not usually completely depressed about the world. If there's something in your life that you care about, that you're serving a purpose, that you're helping raise a grandchild, you're writing a book you think matters, or, we usually need something to connect to in life. And when we get very disconnected and we look at the world, we tend to only see the disconnections. So this is where we have to be mindful of our own vibration. By all means, we all go through dark nights of the soul where we need to just recover and step back. But the question is, when is it your job to kind of bring yourself back out and put yourself into the world? But back to your question, I think it's relative. I think it depends who you ask, how they're living, where they're living, what their level of privilege or safety is versus someone else's. The one thing I will say, and the Z's bring this up a lot, they've said things could have been a lot worse than they are right now 20 years ago. And that higher consciousness has been holding us away from bigger catastrophes, bigger destruction. They also said when you go back through your history and you go back a few hundred years, there are so many things that we benefit from now that we didn't have. And for example, they use modern medicine as an example. And I don't know about you. Last year I had to have a dental, have a wisdom tooth removed. And I was in agony from this dental infection I had for like 2-3 weeks. And I thought, wow, if this had happened to me in the 17th century, how would I would have just been in pain and probably gone off and died. So, I think there is something to the perspective. I think honestly that the biggest problem that we can run into is when we lose our faith in the world, in humanity, and in the path. I've never yet lost my faith in the goodness in this world, but I'm very clear about the darkness. And that was actually a game-changing moment for me about 9 years ago when I was questioning stopping doing this work. It was the last time I was questioning stopping doing this work because I was thinking, what's the point? And at the end of that year, I recommitted to this work in an even bigger way because the Z's also really got me straight about some things. And they went, yeah, there's a lot of darkness on this planet, Lee. And you knew that before you came here. And so did all of you. You are not here for the darkness. You are not here to pour more oil and fuel on the darkness. That's not your job. That's not what you came here for. And it was like a growing up moment for me. And it was like, oh, the part of me that has been upset or bothered and it doesn't mean I don't see horrific things now and your heart breaks I still have a reaction to those things, but fundamentally I'm no longer on the floor going, oh my God, what is this planet? This planet is what it is. And we are going to die. you and I might be dead tomorrow. We might be dead in 50, 60 years. That's up to the mystery. We're not supposed to know when we're going to die unless you get a terminal diagnosis. And unlike an Anita Morjani, for example, who I was just with, you don't come back with a miracle healing. So I think we have to be here for the light. We have to be here for higher consciousness. And if, like many healers, you get burned out or you get sick of trying to like uplift, or take a break, take a break and step back. Someone else will pick up the baton while you're having a little rest and watching too much Netflix or whatever it is that you need to do to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
I've heard that television is ordered regulation. I heard Sia
Really?
the singer talk about that. Yeah. She was, I
no.
love her. I've loved her for 20
That's
years, even
amazing.
before she got mega famous. And she was talking about her recovery because she got sober, and she said to Zayn, she watches way too much television, but she said her therapist said that's ordered regulation. Disordered regulation for her would have been drugs or alcohol.
Wow.
So, I once had someone say to me, oh God, I think I watch too many shows. And I said, yeah, but you're volunteering at the homeless shelter. You're helping everyone. If that's how you switch off,
Yeah.
can we be okay with that?
Yeah.
And if you're really bothered about it, let's do some deep digging. But is just this the part of you that thinks you have to be always productive?
Yes.
We're human in human bodies, and we need rest, no matter how much spiritual energy is running through us.
Yes. You mentioned something about because I wanted to talk about this too, the last channeling of disease, the new audiobook.
Oh, yes.
Of the near-death experience.
Yes. So we just this month released an audiobook and a Kindle version of Conversation with Disease, Book 3. Wow. It's called Demystifying the Journey of Life Before and After Death. I did this in collaboration with Diana Edwards, who's a psychotherapist and an author. We did 3 together, and this is the 3rd and final one. And in it, much like in Conversations with Disease books 1 and 2, Diana asked Disease all kinds of questions, but very much on the topics of reincarnation. Why do we come to Earth? What's our job here? So there are lots of great nuggets in the audio. And when you hear the audio, it's not a narrated audiobook. None of mine are. They're all the channeled conversations as they were happening. Same with The Future Human that I did with Regina Meredith earlier this year. So you also get the frequency of the conversation from listening. But perhaps my favorite conversation in that book, Diana had a very dear friend called Kelly, who I had met because she'd come to one of my workshops years earlier, and she was terminally diagnosed about 8 years before she died. It was 8 or 9. So she went through all of these different operations with her illness and kept coming back. And you wondered how she was still alive, honestly. But she had this incredible spirit. And Diana suggested that Kelly have a conversation with Disease for the book. And Kelly loved the idea. So it's the final chapter of the book. You get to hear a person who knows they're soon to die talking to a spirit guide about the purpose of their life, their death, what's going to happen after, why have they been going through this for 9 years? I mean, it's quite, it's the only, I don't remember finishing a channel and crying very often, but that one I came off and and it was incredible. And what was sweet about it was she did die almost a year after the conversation took place, because this was 2 years ago now. And she said that it gave her so much peace for the first time in all those years to have that conversation. They talk about her mission in life. They talk about the timing of her death. I mean, it's unlike anything I had ever been privy to, even though the Z's have spoken directly to lots of people in workshops or the portal, or this was something else. So I think for anyone who's interested in the journey of life or death, for me, it reaffirmed the beauty and the mystery and the weirdness of it all. It's like, wow, I mean, you and I right now are sat here. How great's that?
I know.
We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So, I've always had that philosophy, because the Z's have instilled it in me, to be grateful for every day, because you never know when something's going to change. And I think that conversation with Kelly and a lot of the material in the book really redefined my relationship to life. So even though the book focuses on reincarnation, death, karma, it actually makes you feel more alive.
What was surprising that you found about death? Like, is it what they say where it's just a transition state or a portal? Like, what were some of the surprising things that came through?
My own personal experience as a human, I've been there about 30 minutes after a child was born, and I've been there 30 minutes after someone died. And in both cases, the same window opened in the room. I was like, wow, like there is a
Whoa.
window to the other world that opens that we enter through and from. And in the case of the man who I was with who passed, there were a group of about 15 of us with him, and he died in the water. And we managed to, well, his body was already on the beach when I arrived. And so everything was happening to him. Reiki, CPR. There were a few trained CPR people there. So they were doing that. There were a bunch of us doing Reiki. There was a group who kind of were around him holding hands, and it was a very, very intense experience. We were running a retreat in Costa Rica, and everyone had the morning off. And this man was the husband of a woman who'd come to some of my events before. And during the morning off, they were in the ocean, and he had a heart attack and died. Now, the weirdest thing is this man had looked at me with such love in his eyes 3 hours earlier at breakfast and just said, I'm just having the best time. And he died in the ocean, which was his happy place, with his beloved. But you can imagine, as a retreat leader in the middle of this, I mean, it's like your worst nightmare. Because, I used to go and take these people on retreats and hike, and I would think, God, I hope no one breaks their ankle. I didn't even imagine or fathom that we could be in the middle of a retreat process and this could happen. So at a certain point, I thought, why am I doing Reiki? I can talk to him. I suddenly remembered. So I talked to him, and he's like this orange aura. And all he will say to me when I'm saying, come back to your body, we're wanting you back in, he's like, I'm so happy, it's incredible here. And he won't have it. And then I try bargaining. And then I try being angry and going, you get her down, your wife is here. Yeah. It's kind of like, you've got a wife.
Yeah, honestly.
Still, same level of peace, same level of happiness. It's beautiful. I'm so happy here. And at a certain point, because he'd been, at this point, he must have been dead for 45 minutes.
Wow.
The CPR hadn't worked. I was convinced we were going to bring him back until I spoke to him. And the minute I spoke to him, I was like, oh God, he's really gone. And his wife was unbelievable. Like, I walked up to her. I was the last one with his body on the beach when they took him away. And then I walked straight to her. And, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have to send everyone home. And, we're 3 days into it. And she looked at me and she said, you'll never forget this retreat. She said, you're welcome. And then she said, we're carrying on. And I just couldn't believe what was coming out of her mouth, and you think, well, she's in shock. Yeah. She was a spiritual, she was a very strong woman. Whoa. Very strong. And she was determined that we were going to carry on. So he, of course, was with us the next 4 days. Wow. It was the most extraordinary retreat. This was 2019. It changed everything for me. But my God, people who pass over are so happy. But that doesn't mean we're supposed to go. That's even Anita, who I was with at Soul Magic. Anita came as a guest, Anita Morjani, who many people know from her near-death experience. She said the other side was just blissful, but her dad told her, you need to go back. And she came back, and she doesn't regret being here, even though she knows how blissful the release of death is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like taking off a tight shoe.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how could people, what were some ways in which, just to kind of wrap that, what would be some ways in which people can rethink about death or even rethink about living based on some of what you came across?
Well, the first thing I will say, and this is as someone who, at the age of 16, 17, I knew I had a lot of my own trauma that I had to deal with. And so I went to self-growth and I went to spirituality, and I started avidly working on it. We can all change our patterns. We can all change our life. And even people who right now are watching going, oh God, but how do I change my life? I'm the breadwinner for my 3 kids. I'm a single parent. I'm so exhausted. I'm so stuck. Within that, there will be something that you can do that can help bring back your life force. You're not just here to be a slave. You're not just here to be responsible for everybody. It shouldn't all be drudgery. So any of us can create more life in our life. And in fact, we live on a planet that, unless you're in a very particular culture or a very particular area of the world, we're put into this hamster wheel and we're told, oh, be in the hamster wheel 50 weeks a year, take 2 weeks holiday, you'll get married, you'll go and live in a house, you'll take out a mortgage. I mean, there are so many other ways to live, and the system is not necessarily telling us the truth. So I think you have to investigate for yourself, what parts of the system am I aligned with? How do I want to live my life in the system? What can I do to educate myself? What can I do to change my patterns? So I think if you're feeling dead in your life, something's wrong. Something's wrong. The Z's always say, if you're still alive on Earth, ask yourself, why? You're still here for a reason. If you were meant to be dead, you would be taken off the planet like that. They say it's very easy for your soul and you to have a conversation and you just get taken off. So they say if you're still alive on Earth, but you're angry you're alive on Earth, you need to work through be as angry as you like for as long as you like. Get it out your system. You need to do that. You can't avoid it. But there's a reason you're still here, and find it. Find the spark of life that lights you up. And once you find that one spark, it will be enough to help you breathe. And then you'll find more sparks. The sparks continue, and then you can really change your life. I have seen people change their existing life without having to get rid of anyone. Or I've seen people just become happier in their marriages, in their families, in their jobs because of the inner change they did.
That is so powerful. I love the spark analogy. I love that so much. Fuji never comes into interviews. So this
Fuji's
is very
so cute.
special.
Oh,
You got a very special
I'm very
guest.
grateful. I got to see a cat today.
I know.
Yay.
We're just going to let him in. Okay, so tell us where we can find the book and then what you have going on right now.
Right. So Conversation with Disease Book 3 is on Audible and it's also on Kindle. So it's wherever you can get an audiobook or a digital book. And then we have a series of books. Most of the rest of them are in paperback as well. So they're all available. I have a workshop. My last live workshop of the year will be in London in September. I wanted to do something not just for the Brits, but for the Europeans who often can't travel over here. So we're doing a 2-day workshop called Energy Mastery, which will be great. And we still have some space available for that. And my next things will be Next Level Healer Coaching, which we're starting in September. Myself and my brother are going to be coaching a smaller group who have taken the Next Level Healer course for 6 months through what they're doing. And as usual, I'll carry on doing my energy updates online and everything. So you can find me at leeharrisenergy.com.
Yeah, best energy updates. Becca, John's girlfriend, is the biggest fan.
Oh,
she almost number one fan. She was almost came today from San Diego.
Well, then we'll have to do her a little video or something.
Yeah, we will.
Of course. That's
She's
so
just
sweet.
and our audience absolutely loves you. Thank you so much. And I wanted to say, just as a last, you did a channeled reading for us in the season. Like everything you said was just so spot on, came true, so real.
That's so cool.
Like it is like we've done so much. It's definitely my favorite. One of my favorite things we've ever done.
That's so cool. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you. Delighted to be here. Always delighted to see you. I'm sorry Lindsay couldn't be here, but it's lovely to be with you.
I know we got time. Okay, guys, I'll see you soon. I love you. Bye. Thank you so much, Lee. Again, that's Lee Harris with Almost 30 Podcasts. My name is Krista Williams, and you can find me on Instagram at It's Krista.
And I'm at Lindsay Simsick on Instagram. We appreciate you listening. Thank you for subscribing. And we will see you on the next one. New episodes every single week.
We'll see you soon. Bye.